Hi, good afternoon. I would like to begin my talk by presenting a glimpse of what the 21st century's progressive citizens are thinking on matters of global importance. 51% agreed women invite violence by dressing provocatively. 53% favor military rule. 67% favor single-party rule. Now, this is just the tip of an iceberg. Who do you think these enlightened citizens are? Al-Qaeda? Aliens? Taliban? Boko Haram? No, none of this. The data pertains to the so-called demographic dividend who represent India's youth studying in schools and colleges across major state capitals and captured through a path-breaking study conducted by CMCA. Ladies and gentlemen and friends, I solicit your attention to my take on whether India's youth are a demographic dividend or a disaster waiting to unfold. Now, what is demographic dividend? Demographic dividend simply means that the youth constitute the largest proportion of a country's working population. It occurs at a certain point of time in a country's demographic journey due to falling birth rates. And that moment has indeed arrived in India, which is about to witness a demographic revolution of sorts, as the figures point out. By 2020, youth will constitute about 28.5% of India's total population, amounting to 375 million. And also by 2020, the average age of an Indian will be 29 years. A lot of political leaders, business leaders are rushing to harness and capture this so-called youth bulge in the Indian population for greater economic development. But we must realize that economic development does not translate automatically into human development, just and sustainable human development. There are many missing links here. As you can see from the statistics, in 2014, India was ranked 7th in terms of GDP, which is a measure of economic development. In the same year, India was ranked 135th out of 187 countries in terms of Human Development Index, published by United Nations Development Program every year. So you can see that there is a huge disparity between economic development and human development. And there are many missing links, like, for example, we have to improve services, we have to improve infrastructure, we have to provide education, we have to improve health, but there is one missing link that is never talked about, and which is a very vital one, and that is called democratic citizenship. Now, what is democratic citizenship, and who is a democratic citizen? Democratic citizens today have become a rare species, almost an endangered species. He or she is an active, caring, humane, vigilant, responsible citizen, politically active and committed to social justice, social equality, harmony, and also ecological conservation. Now, given the importance accorded universally to the role of democratic citizenship, I believe that a skilled workforce minus democratic citizenship will lead to a demographic disaster rather than democratic dividend. Now, in the last 68 years after independence, what have we done as a country to nurture and create a critical mass of democratic citizens? Is our education really helping create such a mass of humane citizens, molding young minds into critical thinking citizens? Let's find out from Yuva Nagarik Meter, a path-breaking, pioneering study conducted by CMCA to assess and map where do young citizens of the largest democracy in the world stand on democratic citizenship. It was done in 11 state capitals: Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Jaipur, Lucknow, Patna, Bhopal, Delhi, Kolkata, and Guwahati. The study was conducted by IMRB International, a leading social and market research agency. The sample was selected using multi-stage random sampling method. A demographically representative sample was selected of high school students and college students, as well as social science teachers. The study used both multiple choice and scale type questions to assess students' awareness of rights and responsibilities, their attitude towards democratic governance, adherence to civic rules, environment conservation, gender equality, diversity, and social justice. Now let's go straight to the findings. On rights and responsibilities, the students score 31%. That is, on a scale of 100, the marks obtained by college youth across India is 31. And let's take a sample. Only 37% of college youth understood correctly the meaning of the fundamental right to equality. Let's go to the next domain, democratic governance. The score on knowledge and comprehension of democratic governance institutions is 19%, whereas the attitudes towards democracy and democratic form of government is minus 11%, the lowest and the most shocking. Let's take a sample of responses. 75% did not know that the legislature is responsible for enacting laws, and we already know that 53% favor military rule, and what we didn't know is that 66% favor dictatorship. Let's go to the next domain, adherence to civic rules. India is witness to rampant and routine violation of rules and laws of different kinds, and our youth are not falling behind. Their score is only 10%, and here is a sample. 44% agreed that it's all right to violate rules because one can get away by paying bribes to officials. Environmental conservation is the only bright spot in this entire study. The score is 45%. It also shows that the heightened emphasis on environmental protection across India through various agencies is kind of having an effect. Like 72% feel it's important that everyone must collect and use rainwater for protecting water resources. Gender equality, the hottest topic discussed today in Indian society, in the Indian media. The score is 8%. It signals that gender discrimination is rampant, is widespread and deep-rooted. Here is a sample. 54% agreed that the main role of women is to take care of the household and bring up the children, whereas 44% agreed that women have no choice but to accept a certain degree of violence. Now, what's even more shocking is that these percentages have equal number of girls also saying the same thing. It shows that even the educated girls are just internalizing the stereotypes and accepting their status, given status in society. So education is really not making them anything more critical. Now, moving on to diversity in social justice, India, as you all know, is one of the most complex, diverse countries in the world. And what do our young think? And they score only 23% on that. 65% favor prohibition of meeting between boys and girls belonging to different religions in public places. Hello, welcome to 21st century. This is India. And what is their attitude towards social justice? It seems to be rather low, as if you look at it, 49% agreed that domestic workers cannot have the right to demand minimum wages and other facilities. Now, if we put together all these scores across the 6 domains, what do we get? We get a national democratic citizenship score of 21%, which is rather abysmally low, and this is the state of democratic citizenship among the urban young India. Now, if this is the story of educated youth, I shudder to think what and how the millions of youth who are out of college, who drop out of education after secondary schooling. Now, the guess is yours. Okay, I have presented before you the horror story of our education failing severely to nurture democratic citizenship among the young. But if you still ask me, after these disturbing findings, whether I believe in change, and my answer would be a definite yes, because of my experience of 23 years as a citizen activist and a civic educator. I have seen change, I have been part of the change, and therefore I believe change is eminently and indeed possible. For example, at CMCA, we engage on an annual basis 17,000 youth, and every year we are witness to this wonderful spectacle of at least a few thousand children experiencing this democratic change. From rescuing stray animals from the streets to solving community problems like garbage, water, sewage, street lighting, and to standing up for the rights of child laborers. The stories are vivid, the stories are myriad, they are touching and inspiring. Now, if we want to replicate this change or scale up this change to the national level, if you want to bring about a national change, we have to undertake three important things. First and foremost, we have to revitalize, re-energize our civic education. Today, it's utterly boring, as you all know. You all remember from your civic classes. I think that was the most hated class that you probably attended. So we need to change it. We need to make it interesting. We need to make it engaging. We need to make it discussion-oriented. We need to make it fieldwork-driven. We need to create the culture of dialogue in these classes so that children and young people become critical thinking citizens through a very stimulating civic education, not the unimaginative civic education that we currently have. We also need to revamp and scrap probably programs like NCC, NSS, which the study very clearly points out that there is absolutely no difference between students who belong to NSS and students who do not belong to NSS as far as democratic citizenship is concerned. The same goes for NCC, the same goes for eco clubs, the same goes for consumer clubs. So the point is, why are we wasting public money on such ineffective programs? So we need to revamp them. We need to come up with innovative programs, extracurricular activities to inculcate these values. Second important thing that we need to do is we need to live democracy in everyday life. Democracy should become the operating principle of every human transaction, every human interaction in every conceivable space and sphere, and every human interface, like schools, colleges, homes, classrooms, streets, malls, political parties, relationships, offices. The culture of democracy has to germinate and pervade the entire society. And that's very crucial to inculcate democratic citizenship. And finally, constitution. We must live by the ideals and the vision and the values of the great Constitution of India. It should become the holy book for all Indians because it is binding all Indians regardless of age, gender, region, rich, poor, tribal, language, caste, color, creed. So all Indians are bound by this great document called Constitution. And before I conclude, I would like to leave behind 4 C's alphabet, A, B, C, 4 C's with you for you to self-reflect and begin your journey towards democratic citizenship. Concern, cooperate, confront, and coexist. Now, concern means concern for the poor, the less privileged, the animals, the birds, the environment. Cooperate, vote in elections, pay taxes, follow the rules, cooperate with government. Confront means stand up for your rights, and coexist means practice equality and celebrate diversity. So if we embrace these 4 C's and make it part of our persona, I believe a democratic change is indeed possible. Thank you.